house. Obviously, the wild news around Maxx Crosby from last night with the trade between the Raiders and the Ravens has dominated all the conversation in the NFL world today. We are going to kind of continue to contribute to that today. We're going to get you up to date on everything you need to know around Crosby that developed today and what the Raiders are now apparently seeking in a trade for Maxx Crosby. We've got everything you need to know around Maxx Crosby and the Rams potentially making a move for him here for you on the Rams Report by Chat Sports. And if you want more news and rumors videos like this in your feed, you want us to make more of these on the Rams Report, hit that like button on today's video. Send that message to the bosses that the Rams Report is growing quickly, that it needs more attention. You know, around here at Chat Sports, a lot of our channels were live all week long for free agency covering it. That could be us this time next year, but we've got to continue to grow that channel. So hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and get into the Maxx Crosby discussion. So this was kind of the biggest update that set the tone for pretty much everything else that we heard afterwards. And it started this morning with Diana Russini saying, "It's been made clear by multiple people around the NFL at all levels that Baltimore had all the information and understood where Maxx Crosby's knee was in terms of his recovery timeline," referring to before they made the trade. "Many in the league believe general manager Eric DeCosta and the Ravens ultimately just got cold feet." So the implication here is that there was not a serious medical red flag that came up, at least not one that the Ravens or any reasonable person who's been monitoring Maxx Crosby's career over the last year and a half, I guess you could say, wouldn't have already been aware of. It was not a secret that Maxx Crosby finished the season on injured reserve with a meniscus tear, that he dealt with injuries in his past, this guy is a career pass rusher in the NFL. So when we get reports that say the Ravens doctors felt the short-term prognosis was okay with Crosby's knee, but the long-term prognosis wasn't great, it makes me really skeptical. At the end of the day, I'm like, of course the long-term prognosis for this guy's knees is not the best in the world. He's dealt with some serious injuries. He plays, his entire work is in a bent position, awkwardly with his knees, a position that you're not supposed to be in all the time. Of course they're not as healthy as they could be otherwise. And this is his own Instagram posts. He wasn't hiding that he was in recovery, that he's been going through surgeries, that he's still not 100% healthy. This was posted 2-3 weeks ago. His status was not a secret. It was something that everybody was aware of. And it becoming pretty clear that there was nothing that the public didn't know about Maxx Crosby that the Ravens discovered gives me a lot of faith in the idea that health shouldn't be a concern for the Rams or any other team looking to trade for Maxx Crosby. His doctor, Dr. Neil Elatrash, I'm really doing my best on pronunciation of that. If I totally butchered it, I'm super, super sorry, doctor. But he sounded off on this as well, saying Maxx Crosby is doing very well in the early part of his rehab and recovery from surgery to treat a significant meniscus tear and the related stress injury to the bone and cartilage in his knee. He is certainly on track in his planned program. He continued, "The timing of this assessment is unfortunate because the apparent risk will lessen as his recovery progresses and his return to performance over the next few months becomes clear. At this point, Max is doing an excellent job attacking his rehab and his knee is responding very well. We look forward to Max returning to his elite level of performance this season as planned and for several more to come." So again, all signs point to he's okay, or at least he is going to be okay before the 2026 season starts. And you could make the argument his doctor's not going to say anything negative, and yeah, for sure, but Diana Russini's not on his payroll. Diana Russini's not reporting this because Maxx Crosby's buying her off, but something else she reported has me a little bit less interested. She said teams that are interested in Maxx Crosby believe the Raiders aren't going to come off their asking price of 2 first-round picks at this time, which stunned me when I read it. Because what we talked about yesterday on this show, and I won't lie, maybe I went a little overboard. I will say, in the heat of the moment, thinking that we could have got that trade done with a third-round pick, that was never going to happen. It would have to be more than that. Absolutely it would. But I don't want to give up 2 first-round draft picks for Maxx Crosby. At the end of the day, that's a lot. And I was very surprised to hear that the Raiders even thought it was possible that they could get 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. The original trade package after this whole debacle occurred. But what say you? I'm going to have you guys sound off on this. I think I know what the majority of you are going to answer, but would you trade 2 first-round picks, the 13th and next year's first, for Maxx Crosby? Would you do this deal? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Type Y if you would. Type N if you are not interested in giving up 2 first-round draft picks for Maxx Crosby. And I am spamming N's, guys. I think I've already made it pretty clear. If the price tag remains 2 first-rounders, the Rams should have no part of this trade. I know we're in F them picks mode. I know. But at the end of the day, this is still way too much to give up for Maxx Crosby. Absolutely way too much to give up for Maxx Crosby. There is a trade that I would make for him. There is. Absolutely there is. And that would be Byron Young and a second-round draft pick in exchange for Maxx Crosby. If there was a trade package that I could put together that wasn't 2 first-round draft picks, that if I'm Les Snead, just to test the waters on this, I would throw that package together. I would send that to Las Vegas. 1 second and Byron Young, but not 2 firsts. 2 firsts is too much. Because I think if you're the Rams, you should value Byron Young as a early second or late first round draft pick. If you're valuing, and understand every team, even if they don't intend to trade their players, should and does know what they are worth in draft capital. And Byron Young has proven to be worth that amount of draft capital. If you're going to go get Maxx Crosby, it should be for Byron Young and a second round draft pick at this point and not a penny more in value. Because he's still really good. I know a lot of you are going to hate the idea of giving up on Byron Young, but we're not going to be able to pay him at the end of the day. I think you're losing Byron Young after the 2026 season to free agency anyway. And if you can flip him into an edge rusher who is very talented and who is also already under contract, that's a win. It's a win to get a guy like this on your roster. To get a guy who gets after the quarterback relentlessly. And something else that's been mentioned over and over again by everybody reporting on Maxx Crosby right now, everybody that's tapped in with his camp, with his sources, is he is coming in 2026 like never before. Like, he is a different animal this season. He is attacking his recovery. He's attacking his rehab. And he's getting ready to attack the Baltimore Ravens especially. He wants to prove that group wrong. I do think he could upgrade this pass rush unit, but I wouldn't make the move for 2 first-round picks. I just wouldn't do it. Because at the end of the day, you don't need it that badly. And if you're going to give up on both of your first-round draft picks and not move Byron Young in this deal, then you still have an issue contract-wise where now you've taken on another big contract. Now you definitely can't afford to keep Byron Young, and you might even have to make another difficult decision about somebody else, like Warren McClendon or Kobe Turner. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep both of those guys. So at the end of the day, it has to be Byron Young in a second, or there just really isn't a deal to be made here, in my opinion. At this point, after everything fell through, In the first place, if you go back, I was never comfortable with the idea of giving up 2 first-round draft picks for Maxx Crosby. That was never something that I wanted the Rams to do. When I reacted to the Ravens, getting the trade done, when we thought that was going to be the offer, in my comments, and you can go and check this on Chat Sports, I said that was an overpay. That offer, too much, in my opinion. 2 first-round picks. Cannot do it if you're the Los Angeles Rams. Byron Young in a second, though, I am comfortable with moving. Because Byron Young is and again, I know there's so many of you that love Byron Young that hate the idea of trading him. And I totally understand it because he is a great player. But Maxx Crosby is better. I won't mix words about it. I won't deny it. I do believe that Maxx Crosby is the better player. But a lot of the guys that love Byron Young, I think, are going to end up being pretty happy in this situation because I think that Byron Young in a second trade does get declined. I think the Raiders may actually be more comfortable doing something that I would never have predicted them to do, especially after all the contracts they gave out. But at least the impression we're getting from insiders right now is they might keep him. They might hold on to Maxx Crosby. Diana Rossini said, I'm told that Crosby is at the Raiders facility today as he continues to rehab. Las Vegas can still trade its star if it wants, but there is a reality where Crosby is playing for the Raiders this upcoming season. There is. And it was further tweeted that the Raiders are planning on having Maxx Crosby in the roster in 2026. And granted, they made these exact kind of comments before they traded him to the Ravens in the first place. They made these exact kind of overtures about we want to have Maxx Crosby in 2026. We see Maxx Crosby as a part of the long-term vision in 2026. Is it possible that all of this is just to drum up trade interest? Totally. Absolutely it is. It absolutely is possible. But I, at the end of the day, don't think the Raiders hold on to him. I think that they do trade him at the end of the day. I think they find a trade partner. Dallas seems to be out on this one. I think the Rams are going to be out as well if the price tag is 2 firsts. I think Chicago is probably your most likely candidate to make a deal for Maxx Crosby. At this point, if the Raiders are truly insisting on 2 first-round draft picks, I don't think you're going to see the Rams involved in discussions. I think at best, you'll see the Rams send a package that involves what we talked about, Byron Young and a second-round pick. And if the Raiders say no to it, I think that'll be the end of conversations between the Rams and the Raiders about Maxx Crosby. And until further notice, the end of us talking about Maxx Crosby on this channel. Because now it is time to talk about Keir Thomas, who re-signed with the Rams today. We got a little bit of Rams free agency news. They've been very quiet ever since a busy day one where they got a deal done with Jalen Watson and Joe Cardona. But on today, they re-signed depth linebacker Keir Thomas, who did not play at all in 2025. He missed the entire season with an undisclosed injury. The Rams never gave us details on exactly what was wrong with Keir Thomas, but they shut him down, put him on injured reserve after the preseason. He actually had a pretty solid preseason in 2025. But what I think they're really banking on is the great work he did in the postseason in 2024. There was some really good stuff from him, especially as a run defender. He seals gaps very well. He knows how to play against the run. And I think the Rams are looking for more of that in their depth pieces. So they're going to look to keep him around this season on a 1-year contract. He's only 28 years old, so he's getting a little older, but he's absolutely not out of the range of like reasonable development. So I think they're taking a chance, keeping him around. I think they intended for him to play a significant role last season. I don't know how that'll work out with the drafting of Josiah Stewart and where that'll ultimately go in because he played really well last year as well. So I think those guys are going to compete for reps at outside linebacker and kind of at edge as well. So it'll be very interesting to see where things go with Keir Thomas's career, but he is back in 2026 for the Rams. Obviously will contribute on special teams as well as he would have last season and did in 2024. But that'll round it out for today's episode of the Rams Report by Chat Sports. Let me know, once again, are you interested in trading for Maxx Crosby? 2 first-round pick price tag. Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. And we will see you in the next one.